I have a few announcements, and I'm going to be honest, since I'm no longer the president, I don't actually know the order in which all this stuff is supposed to go in anymore. So if I mess it up, blame Joe. You can all have a seat for a second while I go through all this. First of all, if you need your parking validated, Gabe has a stamp. I have no idea if it's 100% validation or not. We're going to find out when we leave the parking. This is all new today for us. And right now, since we're just getting started going again, we're going to have everybody, you're going to be paying for your meal on the way out, and we'll figure out how to get this once we get in person more regular again. I have no idea what your top thing. Oh, it says announcements. Okay. Your handwriting needs work, buddy.
Doctor's handwriting, no doubt.
So as a reminder, tomorrow night is the Bloomington Rotary Toast, and it is our 6th annual, if memory serves me. It is our 7th annual. I missed the year of COVID. I blocked it out. So this is our 6th in person, our 7th toast. We'll be honoring Charlotte, Zitlow. Good thing that we're recording this, so this can be remembered. Our very own Tim Ellis will be one of the toasters there, so be sure to show up and support him. Or as Joe said, he's leaving early because of it. A reminder: next week we are not meeting here because why would we make anything normal? Next week we have a field trip, so we are still meeting in person. We have a field trip to Morgenstern's bookstore. That is the new location over in the old Pier 1 over on the east side of town. So it is. I've been there. It's beautiful. So definitely be sure to show up there. Bring a friend if you like. And then we have a few guests that we wanted to welcome today. First, we have Erica Kovacs, who is a international business professor at the school and is interested in finding out more about our club and possibly joining. And then we have a new prospective member who we have to wait on the timing for. That is Stephanie Shelton. Did I get your name right? Yes, wonderful. So welcome, Stephanie, to the club. And then George, would you like to introduce your guest?
All of you know her. What you don't know is we're married.
Congratulations. For the record, for those of you out in Zoom land, George just announced that he and Joanne are married. So we are broadcasting this also, and we'll be on the web later. And finally, any other announcements for the good of the cause before I introduce today's speaker? All right. Yes, Tim.
I made some phone calls asking people to join us today, and 2 of them are here. Paul Bender has been pretty regular.
Woohoo! Thank you, Paul.
Bob Motley, who has not been to the club for some time. Bob, we're really glad to see you.
Yes, welcome, Bob. And our guest speaker, we have one more guest. I'm sorry, I almost forgot. He's here all the time, so we don't always realize he's a guest. But Jim Bright is here from the Tuesday Club, so welcome, Jim. So our speaker today is our very own District Governor Kirk Bouchie. He gave me this beautiful bio, which I will let him share what he wants to from it. What I'm going to do is say that I've gotten the pleasure of getting to know Kirk over the last few years since he was the governor following my wife. And I remember sitting with him when we were doing district visioning and talking about all the ways that we wanted to try and help improve the district. And I just had the pleasure this last weekend of attending a district leadership meeting that he led. And it was a real pleasure getting to see how he and the rest of the leadership are guiding our entire district, which is all of Southern Indiana, forward. So he's doing a wonderful job. He's had to do it in a challenging time, having to go through all your training virtually, but he's really stepped up and he's doing great work for our district. So welcome, Kirk. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Let me get around here so I can be on TV right here. Well, I've got some business cards with my contact information. I'll just route those around. If you want to take one of those, you're welcome to. Thanks, Brian. As Brian mentioned, I'm following Brian's wife, Jessica, and I'm sure you all know Jessica. And this has just been a great team that we've had in our district. And it's been going on for a long time. And I know you probably, most of you aren't aware of what goes on in Rotary, you know, above the club level. But I can assure you that our district, your district, is has a lot of good continuity from year to year, and which bodes well for all of our clubs and gives strong support to our clubs. That's the main reason we're here, is for our members. I appreciate being able to be here at your first in-person meeting in some time. You all are the 27th club that I've met with and visited in person since July the 1st. So it's been a pretty hectic run. I've been through and around Bloomington and Brown County many times over these. It was so weird for me because I'm an IU guy. I go to IU basketball, IU football. I think the last year before the pandemic, I didn't miss an IU basketball game because I wanted to be there when Coach Knight came back. And you know, that year they were saying about every other game, this is the game he's going to be there. So to go cold turkey from all of those trips to Bloomington, and then the pandemic year where we didn't have any, I think probably the year of the pandemic was the longest stretch in my adult life, at least, that I didn't come to Bloomington for probably over a year. Now I'm back on the circuit again, doing the district governor role. So very familiar with Bloomington. I really enjoy, I've been to your other two clubs here in Bloomington. So after today, I'll be able to judge which one's the best, but I'm not going to share that with you. I certainly won't share that with you. What I always try to do at the front end of one of these little talks is recognize your club president. I know he's not here today, but in my opinion, the club president is the most important role in Rotary. Because that's who makes it happen at the local level within the club. I know a strong club has a lot of people that are in leadership besides the president, and it's so important to have a succession plan and to have your president-elect, and even a couple years down the road, if you have that luxury, because when you look around the district, at least, the clubs that struggle from year to year are those that struggle getting leadership. If you have good leadership and a good succession, you've got a lot of the problem resolved ahead of time. So I have of course, Brian is your immediate past president. I think I'm correct on that, aren't I, Brian? So twice. Well, that's why I gave you 2 socks. You've already got your socks. You already have your, I always give the current president and the most immediate past president, because these last couple years, between those 2 years, probably have been the most difficult time in the history of Rotary in 115 years to keep clubs together, keep people communicating. We're fortunate that we had the technology. I never heard the word Zoom as far as a computer program prior to the pandemic. I don't even want to say how many Zoom calls I've been on in the last year and a half or 2 years. But I do have these socks for your president, Joe, if you'll get those to him. Well, a couple other points. I want to recognize Sarah Laughlin. She's not here, but she's your assistant governor for what she calls the bee. She's got a name for it, the killer bees, or, she has Bedford, the 3 Bloomingtons, and Brown County. So she does a great job as our assistant governor for this area. And I know she helps from time to time with issues that clubs have. Betty Dunham, many of you may know Betty. She is our administrative assistant for the district. And I just always try to thank her in front of the groups that I speak to because she's doing a great job for us. She's in her 3rd year as our district administrative assistant. She is a past district governor, which really helps. And as we move forward in Rotary, it was obvious that we needed somebody at the district level to bridge that gap for people like me who are still working full-time with a full-time job. And it makes it easier to get people to step forward to serve in this role if we have somebody like Betty supporting us. I know past district governor Jim Bright's here over there typing away. And unfortunately, during his year, he didn't have an administrative assistant. So I'm sure you probably rely a lot on your wife and yourself, but it sure makes it better for us. And I encourage you all, if you have Rotary related questions, DAC-DB type things, all those kind of details, Betty is probably your go-to person on those kind of questions. My official role here in visiting the clubs is to extend greetings from our Rotary International president, Shekhar Mehta. He is a Rotarian since 1985 in Calcutta, India. He is an accountant by training and a successful real estate developer in India. And the interesting thing, I think it's interesting about Rotary, and we just talked about how important it is to have a good president and a good succession plan within your club. Well, Rotary at just about every level changes leadership every year. And Rotary is a big organization. I think we have 35,000 clubs, 1.3 million members or close to that, worldwide influence, and we change presidents every year. If you think about it, there aren't very many successful companies or companies even that aren't successful that change leadership every year at every level. So that's a challenge, but at the same time, it provides opportunity for new people to come in, just like at the club level, to take another look at goals and maybe think outside the box a little bit from what your routine is. And that's what makes us continue to strive, I believe. He has outlined some goals for us for this year, for this Rotary year. I'm sure this is not all new information to all of you. Number one is to grow. We want to grow Rotary. We want to grow in membership. His goal is to grow from 1.2 million worldwide members to 1.5. That's a pretty aggressive goal. And most of that growth will probably not come from the United States. The United States has actually been shrinking in Rotary membership for several years, as has a lot of the other service organizations, Kiwanis, Lions, all of those. But the idea that Shekhar has, and I know Brian Hain is our district membership chair, and we've had a lot of meetings and a lot of discussion. And I know Brian's worked with some of the other clubs, many of the other clubs, in getting more people involved in Rotary, expanding the tent, because we are a big tent. We're a very diverse group of people, young people, retired folks, everywhere in between, all nationalities, and religious. We're not a religious affiliated group, so it's a big tent. We were looking at some numbers over the weekend at that meeting Brian talked about. Our district leads the middle part of the United States in terms of districts, in terms of female membership in our clubs. We're, I don't remember the numbers, right around 35% in our district are females. And if you think back, when I joined Rotary in 1987, there was zero female membership in Rotary in Southern Indiana or anywhere in Rotary. I think California was where we first admitted females into Rotary. So, think about where would we be today if we didn't have those 35% of the people, and many of our leaders have been women recently. Next year, our RI president, for the first time, will be a female. And just in a few hours, I think Indiana University officially will have a female president for the first time ever in the history of since 1820. So a lot going on in that membership world, and I know Brian will keep you all informed and hopefully pushing you all to. I know you've got several prospective members here today, and that's great. It's the best thing we can do is bring new members in and tell our story and get those people engaged in Rotary. His idea, the president's idea, is each one bring one. That sounds like a simple concept. If you think about who in your world, whether it's people you go to church with, your kids, families that they're friends with, co-workers, think about who in your world would possibly benefit from this organization and being a member of Rotary. Another big area of Rotary, I look at it as three areas: membership, foundation / money, and the support for the foundation and support for the local club activities through fundraising, and then service projects. Those three things, you can't do any of the three of them without the other two. So if you really think about, we have to have the money to do the service projects. You're not going to get the money if you don't have the members. You can't do service if you don't have members, boots on the ground. So they're all interrelated. There's not one that's more important than the other. If you held a gun to my head and said, which one's the most important? Obviously members, because if we can't get members, we might as well fold the tent. So in the area of service, and I know you guys are active here in the Bloomington community. You've been active in supporting the foundation and the service projects that our foundation does. And the one area that you either have heard about or will be hearing more about is this president has pushed the idea forward to empower, have a service project that empowers young girls. And that's a broad topic. Actually our immediate past district governor, Jessica, is spearheading for our zone, for several of our districts, that work in terms of getting the word out about what does that mean, what are some ideas, and I think you're going to be hearing more about that here in Bloomington particularly, and I'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to have a service project at our district conference, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit. Just switching gears a little bit, polio, the news is very good on the polio front. Rotary got involved in polio in 1979 in the Philippines. It really kicked in higher gear around 1987 with what we called Polio Plus and the challenge to raise money for the eradication of polio. To date, since 1987, 99.9% of the polio cases have been eliminated from the face of the earth. We're down to just a very few, 2 countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan. We've had 2 cases in 2021. We had 140 cases in 2020. So we went from 140 in those 2 countries to 2 in this current year, calendar year. Both of those were in January, and we haven't had any evidence of, and knock on wood, any evidence of new cases since January of 2021. There is a new video that is out that I will make sure that all the presidents get. It's about a half hour, and it's current information about where are we in Pakistan and Afghanistan on the polio fight. And like I said, the news is very good. I know it's hard to think about in terms of what has happened in particularly Afghanistan this past summer and into the fall. But we're learning is that the Taliban is supporting the continued vaccination of the children in Afghanistan. Pakistan is a little better situation politically, and they are continuing. So if all goes well, and it won't be like, okay, if we go a year without any, is that it? It'll be at least 3 years before we can deem those 2 countries polio free. And then it's another probably 5 or 6 years before the world then could be deemed polio free. So I hope we're all around to see that day, because if you really think about it, just, a group of Rotarians here in Bloomington, Indiana, or Southern Indiana in general, have helped since 1977 or 79 to eliminate that disease. The district, we have 34 clubs and 3 Rotaract clubs. The 3 Rotaract clubs are IU Bloomington here in town, IU Southeast in New Albany, and Evansville in the community of Evansville. It's not associated with the college. We have 18 Interact clubs now. We've picked up 2 new Interact clubs this year, Franklin Middle School and Hope, Indiana, Hauser High School, Middle School, high school / junior high. It's a small town, small school, and they, Columbus Sunrise championed a new Interact club for that high school. I didn't look, but do the Bloomington high schools, okay. So do you guys share that sponsor, or who sponsors it? Okay, that's great. As I've traveled around and I've thought about new Rotary members, I think that's one of the best things we can do. I mean, if I was king and I could just say, this is what we're going to do, I would make sure that an Interact club existed in every single high school in Southern Indiana, not just where we have clubs, because there's places we'd like to have a club someday. And the way to get into that community may be through those kids. Rotaract. Yeah. And what I was going to say, our district is one of the, again, we're leading the way in several areas. And one of them is last year during Jessica's district governor year, we were one of 2 clubs maybe that gained membership out of 31 club districts. we were one of 2 districts that actually increased membership last year in the middle part of the United States. And the big drivers of that, not only was the individual clubs working hard on membership and keeping, we're always going to lose folks for a lot of different reasons. People's jobs changes, their interests change, but we've kept up with what we've lost. And then we added 2 new clubs last year. We added a Evansville at Night club. There was no group in Evansville meeting in the evening. And we gained a few members that way because that club spun out of the Evansville Morning Club. So there were some members that moved from one to the other. So it wasn't a net gain on some of those, but we did gain some members down there, about half of them, I think. The big driver of our numbers last year, and it relates to this whole story about Interact and Rotaract, is we formed a new club in Vincennes, my hometown, called the Young Leaders Club, Rotary Young Leaders of Vincennes. And they chartered with 46 new members between the age of 25 and 35. And they actually have in their charter or in their bylaws an aging out process. And hopefully we'll gain those people over in so you get booted. Now they haven't got to that point yet, so we'll see. They may make amendments to that as different people get to, but so be it. But to kind of follow up on Jim's point with Rotaract, most of those, I'll call them kids, most of those kids that joined that Young Leaders group are former Interact kids. We've had Interact in Vincennes in the 2 high schools probably for almost 10 years now. So a lot of those kids were in Interact, went away to college, may or may not have been in Rotaract, came back to their family business or their profession and got together and formed a new Rotary club. So in the area of service, I know our district awarded a little over $41,000 this year to clubs. I think there were 16 clubs. You all were the recipient of a $3,000 district grant that you worked on a project for art space at the Sojourn House Library. Is that right? Is that project finished? Okay. Great. So when I look at that on a macro basis, we and that money, that 41,000, and I won't bore you with all the details, but suffice it to say, we get money back from the Rotary Foundation based on what we give 3 years ago. So whatever is given from our clubs and members to Rotary Foundation this year, 3 years from now, that will go into the calculation as to how much comes back to the district for award under this district grant program and other programs that we have. So when I look at the 16 projects, and they were ranging all over the board. I mean, there's food pantry work, there's your work with the art space, there's park work, literacy projects, really a nice array of projects that we help in Southern Indiana. And just on paper, through the grant process, I think the total was somewhere around 100 grand. That was the total of all those projects, because there were several clubs that did more than a 2-to-1 or a 1-to-1 match. I'm going to say, from hearing some of the projects, we're probably looking at somewhere around $150,000 worth of good work that's been done throughout Southern Indiana, just in that project, just in that $41,000 seed money that was given through those grants. And I say this with all due respect to our partners at Kiwanis and Lions and all these other places. But if that's all we did in Southern Indiana, we'd probably outperform the others. But that's not what all we do. As you all know, you're doing the Toast, which is a program to honor an individual, but if I understand it right, a big part of the money that's raised is split between good work in your clubs as well as a project that's selected by the honoree, whether it's Habitat or I don't know what this year's, is it Habitat? Okay. So, thank you. Thanks to all of you and all of our clubs, but particularly you guys and the hard work that you do in service projects. There's no way we could do what we're doing without your hard work. Just a few items before I wrap up here. I want to mention our district conference. When I go around the district and I say, well, the district conference is going to be a celebration this year because we have not had an in-person district conference for 3 years. 2 years we went without one. We had some online Zoom meetings to try to fill that gap, but and they were well done. It's just, it wasn't in person. It wasn't like we're used to. This year, the district conference is just us. It's just the District 6580 and our clubs and leadership and Rotarians, but it's going to be here in this building on April the 9th, a one-day conference. We're going to have a great lineup of speakers and programs, breakout sessions, but most importantly, it's going to be an opportunity for us all to get back together as a district after 2.5 years or almost 3 years apart. And God willing that the virus diminishes between now and then, and everybody gets good reports in their counties, and things can get a little bit more back to normal by April of 2022. And I know the Bloomington folks in all 3 clubs will be called upon. Some of you are already on committees, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. And I mentioned earlier, we're going to do a service project. We don't have all that nailed down yet exactly what it's going to be, but there will be a service project that afternoon here in Bloomington to benefit some local Bloomington organizations, and some people. We're going to have 2 foundation events this year. One is coming up pretty soon, right here in the building again. And you say, well, why is everything in Bloomington? Well, first of all, I like Bloomington, and I tell people in Evansville that. So I'm not saying that just because I'm in Bloomington. And secondly, it's pretty close to the center of our district. If you think about the highway systems, particularly now that we have a decent highway between Evansville and Vincennes and the southwestern corner of the state. I never thought in a million years, I've driven that old road between Vincennes and Bloomfield and Bloomington. The 26 miles from Bloomfield to Bloomington is the longest 26 miles in America. I can guarantee I drove it with my eyes closed for several years, I think. But yeah, that is scary. Yeah. Is that right? I never counted them. I couldn't stay awake long enough to count them. But man, I never thought I would ever see the day that I could get from my house in Vincennes to Bloomington quicker than somebody from Indianapolis can get to Bloomington. But that is the case right now. Because I have navigated the Martinsville area recently, visiting the Greenwood clubs and up in that area, and it's not any fun up there right now. But anyway, we're pretty central to the district. This event on the 19th is going to be a great event. It's our foundation event that you're all invited to. The information's out there. It's online. If you look at the newsletter from this past week that came out to all your email accounts, it's going to be, Jim, you'll have to help me. What's the name of the room over here? Yeah. get your reservation in. It's free to attend. Of course, the whole idea is to promote our foundation and our giving to our foundation. Yes, Jessica is the foundation chair for our district. Our RI director is going to be there, Elizabeth Yusevich, and some other zone folks, Dan Ryan from the zone. Santana will be there, obviously our past district governor that's involved in foundation work at the zone level. So it should be a nice event. We'll talk about, the successes of our foundation work the last year, and hopefully keep that going. The RI convention is close this year. It's in Houston, Texas, June 4th to the 8th. We're just starting to make plans to have a district party there one of the evenings of the international convention. So if you're inclined to attend the international convention, there will be people there that are familiar from Southern Indiana, and hope that anyone that can will join for that. That again is the first time in 3 years that we're having an international convention in person in Houston. We weren't able to do RILA this year, but it's not off the agenda for future, but it just didn't make any sense. Those of you that may or may not know what RILA is, I'm sure you do know. Here, it's a Rotary Youth Leadership Academy, I think. Do they call it Academy or Awards? Normally that's held at Bradford Woods, usually around Halloween or late October. And it brings together kids from Southern Indiana high schools for a weekend of leadership training and leadership skill development and getting to know people. It just didn't make any sense to do that this year, given the situation with the virus. We will be back next year. We're planning for it for next year. We are doing the speech contest. It's a little different. It's going to be recorded, and clubs will be awarded some money from the district to give awards to their winner. And then we've got a committee set up to review those submissions, and hopefully the grand prize winner will get to come to our district conference and present their speech at the conference is our goal. The fact that we can't have international students this year, as far as our youth exchange, we haven't been able to do that for the last couple of years for obvious reasons. At the conference, we normally have those kids, those young people, carry in flags from the different countries and make a big deal about that. This year, we decided we're going to switch that up a little bit. We're going to have Interact kids. Our plan is to have Interact kids from the various high schools around our district bring their flags from their schools and have like some kind of a little ceremony to take the place of that international ceremony that we have. And again, that's kind of keeping with our district celebration. We're kind of looking in instead of out on this particular conference. Kind of in closing, I want to say that, and you guys are back here today, and I appreciate you guys coming back today for an in-person meeting. I've tried to visit, every one of my visits so far have been in person. And if I have to, we'll do a Zoom at the end. But I really want to, because this is the best part of the job, is getting out and meeting people in their home environments. But I'm just asking that each of you recommit yourself after what we've been through, recommit yourself to Rotary and make Rotary a priority in your life. And I stress the word a, and that's what I've always done. And I think, I don't know, the Rotary police may strike me down with lightning or something, because I'm the district governor and I'm supposed to be telling you, hey, Rotary is it. That's the only thing that should be important in your life. And That's not me, and that's not how I've ever looked at Rotary. I've been in it since '87. and several years of what we call perfect attendance. But my point is there are things more important than Rotary, and this is when the lightning hits. But you know, your family, your faith, your health, your livelihood, those are all things just off the top of my head. Those are 4 things. IU basketball is pretty close. But you know, I think to be a good Rotarian and to be a successful Rotarian, you have to have those other things that are important to you in your life in balance and under good control and stable and all those things. So I just ask that you make Rotary a priority. You know, when you get your new calendar for 2022, be sure and mark all those Rotary meetings that you want to attend, and not to mean that you're going to attend every single one of them, but make a plan to attend them and make an effort and make it a priority. I stole this from a radio script, which I kind of liked from Rotary. Possibilities are all around us. We see potential in unexpected places. And when we share our knowledge, our vision, and our connections, we turn great ideas into action. Together, we can make real change happen. We are Rotary. We are people of action. And I know here in Bloomington and in this club and the other clubs in Bloomington, we have people of action sitting around the room here, and the ones that are on Zoom, the ones that aren't here today, and to make more good happen. If I can help you in any way, or if our district can help you, we have a lot of experience in our district leadership. And there's this much more stuff I could have mentioned, but we're running out of time. I want you to be successful this year. I want to help you if there's anything we can do. You know, you have district leaders here within your club that you can call upon. You can call me, you can call Betty. I just want to thank you for being a Rotarian in particular. And I'm very honored and humbled to be your district governor. And if there's anything I can do to help you, I certainly will, as we're all serving to change lives here in Bloomington and around the world. So that's all I got. Thank you. I'll be around for a little bit if you have any questions.
Thank you, everybody in the Zoom sphere for joining us at WRTRY Rotary Radio. Appreciate your attention today. And we're doing the 4-way test right now, but appreciate having you on here, and I'll get your feedback on this process a little later. Cheers.